Welcome back, guys. We are here for our Week 4 news episode of our Madden 23 Owner Series. And again, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into talking about what happened last game out. So our last game out, we returned home back to Houston. And unfortunately, we took our first L of the year. But it was up against some worthy competition, the Chargers. And we made it a close game in the end. It was 28-21. The only reason they got up to that 28 to get that touchdown lead is because they scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter, and we just couldn't come back from it. But it was a well-fought game. I was very proud of our guys. We were riding a big hot streak, going through 3 games straight with W's. I don't think anybody saw that for a start to the year, but impressive nonetheless. So if we're looking at the stats, I think we did an incredible job running the ball once more. Dameon Pierce is coming out, proving himself week in and week out. They dominated us in the passing game, though. Obviously, Herbert has been on fire lately after 5 touchdowns the week prior to us. He lit us up, and obviously our passing game is just not there. Davis Mills can just not keep up in that department. And then honestly, pretty even game. Obviously, we had extra turnover compared to them. We got to limit that, but we had a key turnover in that game that we need to talk about. But besides that, it was a pretty even game nonetheless, which I was very proud of our guys to keep up with. And time of possession as well was pretty even. So let's break it down by the players. Like we said, Justin Herbert, 245 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That 1 interception was huge. We will get to that. But Davis Mills, he threw for 164 and 2 interceptions. Another week of no passing touchdowns. That is unbelievably bad. We need him to step up better if he wants to be the QB of the future. He's simply not doing it, so we have to keep an eye on that. Rushing, Dameon Pierce had 21 carries, 115 yards on the day, 5.5 a carry, 2 touchdowns. This is a very great comparison for Dameon Pierce. Austin Eckler, who's been a standout, 21 carries, 107 yards, 5.1 a carry, 2 touchdowns. So very similar days. One, a running back who's been very proven in this league. One, Dameon Pierce, who is just a rookie. He kept up with him, even had a slightly better average than he did on the same amount of carries, so we have to keep that in mind. Andy Janovich, honestly, came out of nowhere for us. 2 for 29, 11.5 a carry. Simply incredible. He had 2 fullback dives. One of them, just enough to get the first. The other one, he found space and he took it. Unbelievable. Mechie had a great jet sweep play. He had 1 for 14. We'll take that every day of the week. Marlon Mack, solid backup for Pierce. 3 for 8, 2.7, and a touchdown. Great production, even following his game with the Bears. Davis Mills, 2 for 7, 3.5 carry, just solid. And then Isaiah Spiller rounds off the rushing with 1 carry for 1 yard. In the receiving game, obviously we were getting lit up. Mike Williams was a key contributor to that. 7 catches for 87 yards, 12.4 a catch. Brevin Jordan did a pretty solid job for us. 3 catches, 48 yards, 16 a catch. We'll take that every day of the week. But Jalen Guyton, he actually had a score on the day. He also had 5 catches, 48 yards. Eric Ebron had 3 for 48. The other touchdown came from Keenan Allen with 3 for 42. And then any other scores in the day? I do not believe so. In the blocking department, it was pretty even. AJ Cann, he let up 1 sack, and Rashawn Slater was the cause of 1 sack on the other side of the ball. So pretty solid. Obviously, I won't complain with that. Our O-line has done a pretty solid job so far, surprisingly. On defense, tackles, Drew Tranquil led the way for the middle linebacker position. Him and Nasir Adderley were both tied for 12 tackles total. Derwin James did a solid job as well with 10 tackles. Kenneth Murray. Our first tackle leader is Chris Harris with 9, which says a lot that one of our defensive backs is getting the most tackles. It means we're giving up too many plays in the passing game. Jalen Petre follows him with 8. Jerome Baker with 7. A pretty solid day. Let's go with sacks on the day. We had 1 sack for Drew Tranquil, 1 sack for Khalil Mack, 1 sack for Sebastian Joseph Day, 1 sack for Jonathan Grenard, which we needed. That helped him stand out. We will get to that in a moment. Interceptions, 1 for Derwin James, 1 for J.C. Jackson, 1 for Derek Stingley Jr. He got his first interception on the year. Huge for him. Also huge, that was Justin Herbert's first interception on the year, so he was on fire. And Derek Stingley stepped up to make a play and get him a little bit off his game, kept the game close. Chris Rumpf also got an interception. 3 interceptions is just so poor from our players. Obviously, only 2 of them went to Davis Mills. 1 of them was on that fake punt. But anyways, we will move on from that. Deflections. Do we have any deflections to talk about? We have 2 from Derwin James, 1 from Chris Rumpf, 1 for Nasir Adderley, 1 for Jerome Baker, 1 for Eric Murray, and 1 for Blake Cashman. What else do we need to talk about here? Forced fumbles. Probably be a good thing to talk about. Jonathan Grenard with a huge forced fumble, and then it was recovered by Jerome Baker. He's proving to be a very solid addition in the linebacker position. Along with the pick we got, that was a great trade for us, honestly. No blocked kicks, no safeties on the week, and no defensive touchdowns on the week. So last week we had a player come to us and talk to us about potentially breaking out, and let's take a look at that now and see how it went over the last week. So Jonathan Grenard said, "Roll out the red carpet, baby, because I have arrived. Did you see me out there, coach? I am an anchor on this defense, man." Exactly what I talked about. And honestly, we can look at him as a star now after coming up to the challenge and getting that done. So we have that down. Also, I think it was great for the entire defensive line. We're going to see some great growth from them. And while we're here, let's take a look around the league to see what happened in week 4 of the NFL regular season. Let's start with taking a look at how Brandon Cooks did last week, and he ran into another loss. The Cincinnati Bengals, the last year's Super Bowl losing team, they lost by 11 points, 38-27. But let's take a look and see what his production was on the day. So we'll go to receiving, and let's go to Brandon Cooks. 5 for 64, 12.8 a catch. Honestly, not too bad. Let's see what the passing was overall from them. Teddy Bridgewater, 259, 2 touchdowns. It seemed like they just got outclassed, honestly. It looks like the running game probably took over. It did, 108 for 2 touchdowns. So nothing falls on him. He's done a solid job. He's a solid number 2, number 3 receiver maybe for this team. Yeah, probably a number 2, maybe a number 3. They're probably interchangeable between him and Jalen Waddle. But he seems like he's doing his job, stepping up, so they can't put those bad performances on him. We had some of our division rivals clash in a game. Tennessee versus Indianapolis, and it looks like Indianapolis took a narrow 3-point lead on the day, just carry 27-24 win. And I'm looking over the stats. Let's see. Looks like all rushing yards went to the Titans. Passing yards went to the Titans. It looks like it was a pretty close game, honestly. All these statistics are there. This is a key thing to talk about. It looks like the Titans had 3 turnovers compared to the Colts 0. So it looks like as close of a game as it was, the Titans had possession for most of the game, but it looks like they just gave it away to the Colts by turning the ball over too many times. So they cannot have that. Let's look at the player-specific stats, see if we can find anything interesting in here. And it looks like Matt Ryan had a very solid day, 249 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Ryan Tannehill cannot have this. If he's going to be the quarterback for this team, he did a solid job, 332 yards, 1 touchdown, but he threw 3 interceptions. He was basically throwing this game away. Both of them ended up eating a sack, but that might have been the key difference in this day. We will look through the rest of these teams here. Derrick Henry, a solid day, 20 for 80, 4 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor had 13 for 71, 5.5 a carry. Dontrell Hillard, the backup, did a solid job, 11 for 22, 2 yards a carry. Ryan Tannehill scrambled twice, got 10 yards out of 2 scrambles. That's solid. But if I'm guessing, yeah, these looks like pretty average numbers around the block. It looks like the key issue was Ryan Tannehill throwing 3 picks, 1 to Shaq Leonard, 1 to Kenny Moore, and 1 to Marvell Tell. Just unbelievable. If he's going to be the QB of this team and they want to make it in the playoffs, he has to be able to keep the ball. He cannot be giving it away all the time like that. It looks like there were no fumbles on the day either, so yeah, that was the key difference. And now's the time to start looking ahead to next week as our other division rival, who we are going up against, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lost last week. They lost big. They lost by 12 to the Eagles. And honestly, it looks like it's a pretty interesting game, so let's take a moment to talk about it. It was a 33-21 loss. It looks like Jacksonville did a solid job getting a touchdown each quarter except for the first, but it looks like they held the lead in the first half, and the second half Eagles came out and they took over. It looks like from these specific stats, it looks like Eagles just dominated them in yards. Rushing, they had nearly 100 more yards than they did. Passing, did a solid job taking over as well. And it looks like besides that looks like it was the story of the game. Their offense just severely outperformed the Jaguars in that department. And it looks like time possession, Eagles held that thing on through the second quarter. And that's how they took the lead late in the game. So let's go to player-specific stats here. 276 yards for Baker Mayfield, 2 touchdowns on the day. He had a long of 31. He ate 4 sacks, but he still produced great numbers. 214 yards for Trevor Lawrence, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Pretty solid performance for a second-year player, I'll have to say. Miles Sanders, 17 for 64, 3.3 a carry. And James Robinson on the other side of the ball, he had 11 for 50 yards, 4.5 a carry. He had a touchdown. Boston Scott came in for a touchdown. Baker Mayfield scrambled in for a touchdown. Their offense is just looking dangerous for the Eagles A.J. Brown stepping in, Marvin Jones, Devontae Smith. Incredible work by these guys. And it looks like that Baker Mayfield pickup was a great move for the Eagles. They moved on for Jalen Hurts. They decided they wanted to buy in to this team now with Baker Mayfield, and it's looking like he's stepping up for them. So let's take a moment before we get into anything else. It's about that time. We talked about it at the beginning of the year. We're going to be relocating this team, and now might be the best time to figure out where we're going. So let's get in there. We're going to take a look at our available cities, who has put in a pitch in for us to come to their city, and let's see. So I've done a lot of thinking, and obviously we have to keep with the conference. We have to be the AFC South. There are a lot of options on the table. We could have gone with Oklahoma City, maybe. We could have gone with Mexico City. There were some other options. We obviously could have gone to Orlando, but it looks like the Florida is stacked with NFL teams. I didn't really want to get in on that competition, but I think the best option for us is moving right across the state. We're going to take our fans from Houston, combine them with some fans from Austin, Texas, keep our team in the big state of Texas. We know they love their football down there. Their market size is pretty decent. Their personality, they want to see a front runner. And obviously that's when I want to see with this team. We might not be there now, but this team has started out very well with a 3-0 season. We see a bright future for this team. And if we're looking at our description, they have said Austin is the perfect place to relocate, and it really is. Their team choices are the Bats, the Armadillos, and the Desperados. So that's obviously a decision we can make further down the line. But we are going to lock that in. Austin, Texas is going to be where we are relocating this team. That is going to be the future for us, and it's going to be kind of incredible, honestly. So it looks like coming up, we actually have a media session, and let's take a look at that and see what they're asking here. Jonathan Coachman, he said, "You're officially moving this franchise after the season, but why do you assume you'll be more successful than you're here?" So we have some options here. Let's see what we decide to go with. And honestly, we're going to go with this last option. I get that many of our fans are upset, but long term, this move allows us to bring in a whole new generation of fans, and it really does. And that's going to affect our team popularity. If we see a win in that city, obviously our popularity is going to skyrocket because of this. If we see a loss in that city, we're not going to be gaining those fans, and we're going to lose even more popularity. So we have to keep that in mind for the future. Now is a great time. We're going to head back into negotiation, see what we got going on. Obviously, our first priority here coming up, Andy Janovich. Like we said, he's been a standout for us. He's really stepped up at the fullback position. So let's see if we can move this offer up. I think we could probably move this up to $2.5 million a year. Decent bonus. Let's see what he says to this. "I'm happy to sign and continue to play for this great organization. We love to see it. Andy Janovich back on the team." So that's another 2 years for him. Kamu Grugier-Hill. I think we've talked about this before. He might not be the best, but honestly, we don't have very good linebackers for this team. So let's see what he says to $2 million a year. This team isn't right. The money isn't right. Something has to improve if I'm going to sign. Okay. So we can work with that. Obviously, I don't want to overpay him. He's not great. We could probably find better options in free agency or in the draft, but we'll keep that in mind for us. Philip Dorsett. He's ready to negotiate. Age 29. He's not a starter for this team. So let's go with a team-friendly deal. Let's see what he says to that. He's probably not going to take this. I don't think a single thing about this entire negotiation. Hey, it's a starting point. At least he's not locking us out. So that's something to keep in mind. So obviously, out of this, we only got Andy Janovich back, but it's a good thing to keep in mind, and we can keep working with that. And since we returned back to our home stadium in Houston, Texas, obviously, we just talked about it. We're not going to be in Houston forever after this, but we can make the best out of our stadium and our finances while we are here. And since it's our first game back, we can take a look at how the ticket sales went for this last game out. And they were up from our last profit margins. Let's see what the fans have to say. Houston Heroes said Texans tickets are cheaper than usual in the club section. We love to hear that. Texans Two-Step got a decent deal on Sweets tickets for the last home game I went to. And another tweet from Texas Two-Step got a great deal on upper tickets. So it looks like our tickets are doing great. We won't change that at all if everything's going great. Merchandise. Houston Heroes said it's too bad the Texans charge so much for a Cam Newton signed football. Should be cheaper. Honestly, it makes a good point. He's not playing on the field that often. But his signature is still worth something, so we'll bring that down another $25 to $250. Honestly, Houston Hero said, hoping to scrape together a few extra bucks so I can afford a Texans Marlon Mack Nike jersey. Honestly, a backup? You shouldn't be worrying about saving money up for that. Obviously, Marlon Mack's going to make his money, but we'll bring it down 90 bucks for them. And too bad Texans said very aggressive prices on a Chris Harris Jr. Nike jersey at the Texans team store. Too much if you ask me. We can bring that down 10 bucks. He is a starter. He's our number one corner, honestly. So we'll keep that price up, but we will move it down a little bit for him. And our last area of focus will be concessions. Texans two-step. Surprised at the price of soda at the stadium. Pretty steep if you ask me. Let's see what it has. $5. Listen, I'm all about making my money, but we also got to bring that down. Understand the fans. Bring it down to $4. Rowdy Gabbert said the price of cotton candy seems a little steep, but it's probably the same at every stadium. So we get that. We understand. At least he's being realistic, but we can help him out. It might be steep, but we can bring it down, help out, make us one of the best stadiums, atmospheres in the league. I know our fans are willing to pay for it, but soft pretzel is too expensive at Texans games. All right. Again, Texans for life. I like the honesty, the realization. We will bring it down, though, because even though they will pay for it, we could probably get more for it if we brought it down a little bit. And that looks like the most we got there. And now is a great time. We can look forward to this next upcoming week. Like we said, we are going into Jacksonville to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, a big division game for us. So let's take a look at the injury report and see who will not be playing in this game. So obviously, Andrew Wingard is strong safety for them, age 25. He's a pretty solid option, but he is unfortunately suffering from a broken wrist, so he will not be out on the field for this game. Marvin Jones Jr., 32-year-old, he's been around the league. He's a great asset for them in the receiving game. He's out with an ACL sprain. It looks like he might be back next week, but at least he won't be here for this game, so we won't have to worry about him. We don't have any injuries on our hand, so now is a great time, better than ever. We can talk about who we will be seeing on this field for this next game. So for the Jaguars at quarterback, obviously Trevor Lawrence. They used their first overall pick on him a year ago, and he's done a solid job. Obviously, he hasn't broken out just yet, but I do see him being the franchise quarterback for this team. Obviously, some rough games, but that's going to happen with this team. They're not overly great just yet. At halfback, they have James Robinson, a very solid option for them in his third year in the league, backed up by Travis Etienne Jr. At fullback, they have Nick Rolston, nothing special there. The wide receiver position, obviously they have Marvin Jones out, so leading the way is going to be Christian Kirk, the fifth-year receiver. He's going to be backed up by Laviska Shenault Jr. and Zay Jones. Obviously, Jamal Agnew in there as well, so some good things to look forward to at tight end. Evan Engram, solid option, nothing to say there. Dan Arnold, same thing. At the left tackle position, we're going to fly through this O-line. Cam Robinson, they have Ben Barch, they have Billy Price, they have Brandon Scherf, probably their best O-lineman, if I had to say, and Jawan Taylor at the right tackle position. At the left defensive end, they have Duwan Smoot. At the right defensive end position, Carl Nassib. At the defensive tackle position, they have Folaronzo Fatukasi. I hope I said that right. Devon Hamilton and Raekwon Williams will be the third string defensive tackle. At the left linebacker position, they have Trayvon Walker, rookie in his first year. The middle linebacker position is locked down by Foyesat Oluwakan, and they have Devin Lloyd as well. The right outside linebacker position, they have Josh Allen. He's been huge for them so far. At the corner position, Shaquille Griffin is back there as the top corner for them, backed up by Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell. Free safety, they have Rayshawn Jenkins. At strong safety, they have Andre Sisco. Kicker, they have Mason Crosby. Punter, they have Logan Cook. So now that we know who's going to be on the field, we can set our game plans. And I think our first move, I think we're going to be defending the short pass against the Jaguars. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence, he's not going to light it up for them. He's still developing, young as a second-year player. And he doesn't have very many receivers downfield. And their running game is nothing crazy to worry about, especially with a kind of weak offensive line. So we're going to be focusing on defending the short pass. I think that'll be huge for us. And on the offensive side of the ball for us, I think our plan of attack, it's been the same thing for a while. We're going to run the ball inside, keep pounding the rock, because obviously our passing game is not there. We might have better success with this defensive backfield, which isn't impressive by any means, along with their slightly weak linebacker class. We might see Davis Mills be able to unload the ball a little bit more, but our game plan, our plan of attack has to be running the ball against this team. So our coaches have submitted their goals they want to see for the week. Lovie Smith has said he wants us to allow under 200 yards, and honestly, it seems like a pretty solid goal. They don't have an explosive offense by any means, so we should be able to contain that, and it's a great challenge for this team. our offensive coordinator has said we want to see 300 plus offensive yards. It is our time to dominate against a weak team like this. We have to step up. And honestly, I think it's a great goal for us to shoot for in this division battle. Our defensive coordinator has said he wants to allow 14 points or less. We need to dominate on offense, and we have to lock down their offense. So allowing 14 points or less is a great way to start that one. And my goal on the week, I want to see us break 200 plus yards rushing on the day. Dameon Pierce has continued to dominate along with him and Marlon Mack. I think we keep pounding that rock, and against this weak D-line they have, I think we got to step up, and I think this is the game to do it. So we have finished up practice, and honestly, we did see some improvements from this team. Let's talk about them, and our first one is going to be our right defensive end, Jonathan Grenard. So obviously, after this last game, we decided that we could look at him truly as a star of the future, and he did a great job in practice this week. We saw improvements in agility, awareness, finesse moves, his hit power, and his tackling ability. So a great week for him. We love to see that from a third-year player out of Florida. We also saw improvements from both of our running backs. We're going to start with our starter, of course, Dameon Pierce, and we need to talk about. He got even better at his cup of tea, his awareness, his ball carrier vision, breaking tackles, and his stiff arm. They all got better. We have to keep up with that because it is a great story going on so far with the rookie again from Florida. He's backed up by Marlon Mack, obviously, and he's done great so far. I think I want to see him more in the passing game, and we ran into some drills, and we did see some improvements. We saw improvements in catching in traffic, regular catching just in general, and his juke move as well. So we love to see those improvements. So that is about everything we have to cover. We are on our way into this next game, traveling to Jacksonville, heading into the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars in a huge AFC South divisional game. If we take a look at the division, right now we are leading the division of the AFC South 3-1. We are tied with the Colts, but we do keep a slight lead as we did beat the Colts in week 1 for our first win on the year, coming off our first loss of the season. This is going to be a huge game, not only because it's a rebound game from us from that loss, but because it is a division rival in the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to their stadium. We know it's going to be a big game. We know this is a great opportunity for us. And also, we know that we are heading into a bye week. We need to make a huge impact. We need to bounce back for the future of this season, for the future of this team. This has to be a good game. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I can't wait to catch you guys back for our Week 5 game in Jacksonville against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Catch you guys then.